Tesla is pretty much one of the hottest stocks that is about. It is literally in everybody's portfolio. It is always talked about. But recently, it's sort of, well, this year, it hasn't really moved too much. And it's just sort of, the start of the year, we got this surge. And then, come February, we fell. And we've just been sat in this sort of range since sort of December. We haven't really moved. I mean, we spiked out a bit, but given that there's a trend line underneath, there's a very good possibility that we could go higher. In this video, I'm just going to look at Tesla from the technical aspect, from the financial aspect, compare it to Toyota and Ford, see why it's worth 700 billion. Is it really worth that? Could it go further down? And just sort of get the next 12 months outlook for this. I am a buyer of it. But where to is the question, where could it go to? It's the 11th of August. My name's Tyrone and you're watching Mini Pip. Jumping straight into the video, I just wanted to look at the website and just to see sort of the development of what it is that Tesla's currently up to. Model S, Model 3, they're doing really well, and pretty much the backbone of Tesla right now is the Model 3. You've got the Model X and the Model S providing sales as such, but the Model 3 is where the bulk of it is basically at. And the Model, I think it's the Model Y, it is the Model Y. This is due to be released probably some point in the next 12 months, and this to me is aimed at Europe. It's a small compact SUV, and you'll find a lot of these especially in Germany, France and stuff like that, and you'll probably sell a lot of these in England as if they're the right price. So this here is a brilliant development, and it's allowing Tesla to get into markets that they once could potentially not get into. And on top of that, the main reason why I think Tesla's going to do well is the Cybertruck. The Cybertruck is, it's not due to be released until like late 2022. Probably even 2023, so there's still another 18 months before we see this on the roads. But given that this is probably going to be the most highly anticipated car to be released, when this comes on sale, I think that the sales are just going to go through the roof. And if we look at pickup truck sales in the most recent quarter, Ford are selling around 200,000 Ford F Series a quarter, and Dodge is selling around 150,000 a quarter. So that means that Ford's doing 800,000 Ford F-150s a year. If Tesla can do 150,000 Cybertrucks, they're going to be doing $7.5 billion revenue, and I think that they're going to sell a lot more than that. And people probably, if you look at the stock, it's probably priced that in terms of that release, but it hasn't actually priced in what I think it could potentially do. And I think that the Cybertruck is going to be the thing that really accelerates Tesla into that American market. And they've got the sedan market and the saloon market. They're breaking that hatchback market now for Europe with the Model Y. So it makes sense that I get that Ford is bigger in terms of how many cars they sell. Toyota is the same, they're bigger, but Tesla's just got that one edge above where it's got people excited, and that is what you want to see. That is what makes shares go up, is when people are excited in the company and they believe in the company, the share price rises. Tesla and Ford have been on the stock market for God knows how long. Ford's been on there for 50, 60 years. Toyota's been on there for a very long time as well. Tesla just brings this fresh new thing to the markets, and that's what investors want to see. They want to see development, they want to see change and innovation, and that's what Tesla are doing. Looking at the income statement for Tesla, 2020 saw revenue of 31.5 billion with a profit after tax of 862 million. That's really good because that's actually the first year that they've ever made a profit, a whole year profit. Running on quite slim margins as such, but needless to say, it is a profit. It's a very thin margin, in fact, it's 2-3%. But if we look at the most recent quarter, things are just getting better and better for the company, and they are really finding their ground. H1, so the first half of the year, we've seen this 10.3 billion and 11.9 million, and we've seen profitability also there, 1.3 billion and 533. If they continue that, they're going to be seeing revenue somewhere in the region of around 44.7 billion and a profit after tax of somewhere in the region of around 3.28 billion, which is around a 7% margin. Okay, and join that over there, but it's around a 7.3% margin. I did check Ford's. Ford runs on around a 6, or they're on track to run on around a 6% margin this year. So Tesla's margin is marginally better at around 1.3% better, which is good. It shows that Tesla is actually more profitable, or maybe more profitable than Ford. And that's what you want to see. And if we look at the revenue as well, you know, you've got so much room to grow for Tesla. There is just so much room to grow. If they do 44.7 billion, they're going to see a 41% increase on revenue from last year. But even better, they're going to see a 280% increase on that profit after tax. And that is just superb. That is what investors want to see. So hence why it's probably going to do really good. If we quickly look at the balance sheet, you've got a really good balance sheet as well, and in fact it's one of the best in the industry. Cash on hand 16.2 billion, receivables is the strongest it's ever been at 2.1 billion, total assets of 55.1 billion, and liabilities of 29.5, leaving shareholder equity on net positive assets at 25.6 billion. This gives them a liabilities to assets ratio of around 53.5%. Now, to put that into perspective, I think that Ford, if I just check, I think Ford has a ratio of 88.3%. Daimler, which is Mercedes, they've got around a 75.3% liabilities to assets ratio, and Toyota is around 59.4%. So, you know, again, Tesla is above or below market average for the auto industry, and is around stock market average, and that is brilliant. It's what investors want to see. So overall, these numbers tick out. If we look at Ford as well, just quickly, you know, Ford looks like they're doing really well. They're on track to do around 125 billion this year, with around a 6% profit margin, which is 7.6 billion. But the problem being is, they're going to do 125 billion this year, but they did 127 billion the previous year, 155 and 160, and they're just not growing. Ford is just not growing. And the other thing as well to consider is the volume. So if we look at Toyota, one of the reasons why Toyota potentially isn't as lucrative as Tesla is, we look at the volume in trading shares. You know, 266,000 shares, which is the average trading volume in a day. If we look at Tesla, it's 24.5 million. There is a 92-fold increase in terms of its volume. It is a demanded stock. If it's a demanded stock, it's going to increase the desire for that, and thus increase the price. Ford is actually quite high. I think Ford is about 80 million. I'll just check that now, actually. I think Ford is very high. But the problem with Ford is, to me, it's not, it's 81 million, so it's very high. But it doesn't have that edge. And if we look at the income statement for Ford, you know, it's just boring. It's the same numbers. 10 years ago, they were doing 128 billion. They're still doing 128 billion. And in fact, next year, or this year, they're going to do 128 billion. It's the same. There isn't anything new. And that's the problem with Ford, in my opinion. Now, if we actually look at the chart and we see what we've got some, you know, a really good trend line going up that is still holding from that March low. March pandemic low around $67 a share, which is insane. And if you bought there, well done. That's an amazing investment. You know, you're up sort of 900% in a year or 18 months. That is amazing. And at one point you would have been up almost 1,100%. That's superb. But given that this has happened, we're now sat at this $700 level, and we've been sat there for some time, you know, back in sort of December, January. So in the last 8 months, we haven't really moved. If you bought this at the start of the year, you'd be flat, which begs the question, where are we going next? I know that there's a very famous investor, Michael Burry, which is shorting this stock. I think that, you know, I'm not going against what he's doing, but I don't know if that's going to be the case where you're going to see Tesla fall in value to the point where it's going to come back down to 400 a share. I just don't see that happening, especially with what they've got coming in the future. And Tesla is just more than just a car company. You know, they're doing solar panel roofs, and they'll probably get into renewables. Well, they have Solar City, and they will increase what they're doing in terms of the renewable side of things. So there's other revenues there as well. But if we just look at the chart, one of the good things about what I see with Tesla is all this support underneath. You know, you've got the trend line, you've got the 100, the 100, the 50, and the 20 period moving average. And unless, in my opinion, unless this $600 level here is broken, Tesla is not a sell opportunity. It is a buy and hold. Similar to Apple, if you're now buying Tesla, if you bought it over here, amazing, well done, you deserve a pat on the back. Or anything pre-pandemic, that was amazing. It was an amazing investment. You couldn't have got better. But if you're looking to buy this now, you need to have an Apple mentality where you buy this stock and you leave it and you sit on it for 10 years, 5 years, and let it do its thing, because it's a volatile share. It's a highly traded stock at 24 million shares traded on average in its volume. So, you know, you've got to take that into consideration. Trading Tesla is going to be very difficult, but current level at 707, you've got so much support down to 600. So long as this holds, I potentially could see a pullback towards the trend line again. August volume is low, it generally is, so there isn't probably going to be a catalyst to push it higher. If we do push higher, which we will, and at some point I'm very confident we will, I think that 800 is your next level of tough resistance. I think that we'll get there come October, November, December of this year. So quarter 4 of this year, I'd be targeting around 800. If we break 800, we are going towards that highs, and I think that we will get up there towards that 890. So I would probably see something like this, and then at some point potentially, I mean, this is looking at, you know, sort of this year, but I think that come 2022, you're going to see this push towards that $900 level, and eventually towards $1,000. $1,000 a share is going to be so tough to crack though, and that is why you've got to sort of, you're buying in now, you hold it and you leave it, and at some point in the next couple of years, when the Cybertruck's released, when the Model Y is released, and a lot of the other models as well, and a lot of the other developments, so you got the the Roadster as well, which is going to be the fastest car in the world or whatever. That's going to increase sales as well. You're going to have all the rich people buying that one. But overall, I would want to see Tesla at about $1,400, which is twice its current price, and that gives it a 1.4 trillion market cap. It's got a lot of work to do. One of the things that they need to do to increase that valuation is increase the balance sheet. The balance sheet is quite small in terms of, if you compare it to Toyota and compare it to Ford, they're running on like $250 billion in assets and stuff. But if Tesla gets up there, which it will do, and it is increasing them every year or every quarter, it's up around 4 or 5% just this quarter. If they can continue to increase those the balance sheet and the revenue, there is definitely a case to see $1,400 in the next 5 years. But just looking at this year, 800 is the target. An extension of that around 825 if we have a good fourth quarter. And if we break above there, which we will do, but probably going into 2022, your target is the highs at around 890, and then a break above 890 takes us towards $1,000, which would be my end of year 2022 target. $1,000 by 2022. I am tracking this stock on my website. I have just done a post on this as well, and I will probably post once every month or two about Tesla. And again, it is a big component of the NASDAQ as well. So again, one of the reasons not to short the NASDAQ is because it has an influence on that, and this is probably just going to continue higher as well. So again, I will be tracking this stock, I will be tracking the NASDAQ, and I'll also be tracking some other companies that are related to Tesla as well. So Ford, BMW, Daimler, and Porsche. Porsche is also quite good as well. I've been looking at that recently. It is the 11th of August. My name's Tyrone. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.